hey, welcome back to our Achievement Hunter series, aimed at plundering the Barrens gameplay achievements. We've burned our way through the Warrior, Warlock, and Shaman achievements thus far, and there are 3 Rogue achievements for us to sprint through. Let's get into it.
Huh, this should be interesting.
For today's video, we're covering the following 3 Rogue achievements. Just Don't Touch the Blade, requiring us to coat Swinetusk Shank in 4 different poisons. Identity theft is not a joke. Asking us to yoink all 10 hero powers. And magnets, how do they work? Which ultimately takes playing 12 cards in a single turn as a rogue to complete. None of these require us to win games to complete, so we can employ some unusual strategies to complete these when it makes things more interesting or efficient. Each of our guides include timestamps for each achievement and deck codes for each deck mentioned in the description in case you'd like to skip to one you're looking for. Now, let's coerce these achievements into submission. Let's start by taking a stab at the most straightforward of the Rogue achievements. Just Don't Touch the Blade. Since we have to coat it in 4 different poisons, Swinetusk Shank is necessary to complete this one. If you don't have a Swinetusk Shank, it is possible to get one from the Thieves' Tools bucket in duels, but hopefully you pick it up early, as collecting 4 poisons to coat this with from your deck will get harder and harder as your deck grows larger and larger. At the moment, in Standard, there are only 4 poisons available to slather the Swinetusk Shank with: Deadly Poison, Paralytic Poison, Silverleaf Poison, and Nitro Boost Poison. And in order for Nitro Boost Poison to coat your Shank as well, you'll have to corrupt it first. In Wild, you also have access to Leeching Poison, but the effect only lasts 1 turn, and it appears as though the poison disappears once the effect disappears. So if you do use it, only play it on a turn you've got 3 other poisons already equipped, just to be safe. As a quick side note, Apothecary Hellbrim could potentially help you get one of the poisons you haven't drawn yet in hand, but he's completely unnecessary, so I wouldn't bother unless you really just want to play him. We're actually going to start off in Wild for this one, but there will be a recommended Standard deck for this one as well. The reason we're starting in Wild is because this Pirate Weapon Rogue we named, Kingsbane? Is extremely consistent at drawing through the deck to grab the Shanks and cycle into the poisons. It's actually how we tested that Leeching Poison disappears after its effect is completed. And if you draw Cavern Shiny Finder or Raiding Party early, it's frightening how quickly you can decimate opponents while coating this in at least 4 different poisons. But we actually did complete this one in Standard first, with this Poison Yoink deck. This deck is also designed to cycle through the deck quite quickly, but it has a dual purpose function of getting progress towards the Yoink achievement as well. One slight challenge to the deck is that you want your Nitro Boost Poison in hand before you play your Swinetusk Shank, if possible, or else there's a good chance you won't be able to corrupt it, as Cutting Class quickly drops to less than 3 mana, and Coerce is the only other 3 mana or more card. Still, we left it as it is because it was really efficient, and even though we played less than optimally so that we could pull off the achievements, we won 6 out of 8 games with the deck. That was 3 weeks ago, but still. One thing that's great about Wandmaker in this deck is that she'll often give you a poison or a copy of Yoink for you to get progress towards these achievements. But since Yoink is part of the next achievement, we'll talk about that more in a moment. Now, if you want a memified version of this deck that will benefit from the massive weapons you're building and the amazing card draw in the deck, you could try out this Dance to Cthulhu version. It drops the Yoinks and Sinister Strikes for Steel Dancers, Mancrick, and Cthulhu the Shattered. I've rarely had a game go long enough to actually summon Cthulhu, even as we race through the deck, as Eye of Cthulhu often killed the opponent, but it's fun to get surprisingly large minions from Steel Dancer. And hey, at least this one is pretty consistent at corrupting the Nitro Boost Poison with the Cthulhu pieces. Have fun shanking opponents with poison, however you choose to do this one. Since we already referred to it with one of the decks while doing the Swinetusk Shank achievement, let's go ahead and deal with Identity Theft is not a joke. This one requires that we yoink all 10 hero powers. One thing I didn't realize at first glance is that that means we also have to yoink the rogue hero power too. So you'll want to play a second yoink while the first one is active, or play yoink with Galakrond in wild so that it'll be possible to discover the rogue one. Now, Yoink is another epic card that many people may not have, and it's not actually listed as an option in the buckets of duels. However, as a 1-mana spell in a pool of 6 1-mana spells for Rogue in Standard at the moment, Wandmaker will be a way to generate copies of it. For the Rogue one, you'll probably want to have a couple more ways than just Shadow Step to bounce her to increase your odds of getting the second one if you do end up going that route. So if you have copies of Yoink, this Poison Yoink deck we mentioned during the Poison achievement is a fun way to get progress towards both achievements at the same time. And with the heavy cycle included in the deck, as well as Wandmaker's penchant for making additional copies, it shouldn't take too long to pull this one off. Just remember to keep track of which hero powers you've done, and don't forget to yoink the Rogue hero power at some point. And continuing the pattern we've got going in Rogue, this next deck for Wild not only makes the Rogue hero power portion of this achievement easier, but it's also a great way to play a ton of cards in a single turn for the Magnets achievement. This deck is one we modified from HS Replay, and it's also ridiculously fast at cycle. And because of that, it's not all that often you're using Galakrond's hero power since your hand is so full. He's in the deck to pull a couple more cheap cards to combo with Spectral Pillager on the OTK turn. So Yoink provides another cheap activator for the combo while giving you a useful hero power that's free for a couple turns before you pillage the opponent. We also had aspirations of messing with our opponent's hero power using Yoink in conjunction with Grizzled Wizard, but after they use the second charge themselves, it just reverts to their own original hero power, so it's kind of pointless. You're definitely better off sticking with Sir Finley if you want to disrupt the opponent's hero powers. But both of the decks we've introduced yoinked us some fun victories, so you might try them out. And now we come to a very interesting scientific question. Magnets, how do they work? Apparently, in Hearthstone achievement makers' minds, they chain together one after another until we've got at least 12 stuck together. And that's precisely what we'll do in Rogue with this one. A card that is vital to pulling this off in Standard is Field Contact, as having his help to draw extra cards will go a long way in chaining together 12 cards in a single turn. The other minions that make this much easier to pull off in Standard are Efficient Octobot and Penflinger, even in his post-nerf form. And Scab's Cutter Butter is an honorable mention, but he's not necessary by any means. Stuff Field Contact, Efficient Octobot, Penflinger, and the 0-mana rogue spells into a deck with a bunch of cheap combo and battlecry cards, and you'll complete this one relatively quickly. We decided to pull this one off with the same deck we used to complete the neutral Gruntled Patron achievement, to continue stabbing multiple birds with stone shanks. This Gruntled Pens deck uses Penflingers or Prize Plunderers to activate the Efficient Octobots and set up for a crazy combo turn, or amazing cycle through the deck with Field Contact. We actually completed this achievement on turn 6 as we cycled through the deck looking to gather combo pieces. If you'd like to see the game with the deck where we pulled off the full board of Gruntled Patrons achievement, there's a link up above you can follow to see the highlight video. Over in Wild, you have a few more options to play 12 cards in a single turn, especially with help from Heist Baron Togwaggle's Wondrous Wand discount. And Galakrond the Nightmare's Battlecry has been reverted to its pre-nerf mana cost reduction, meaning all cards drawn cost 0 mana. If you pair Galakrond's discounted cards with Umbral Skulker and a bounce effect or two, it's easy to play many more than 12 cards in a single turn. And, as we mentioned in the previous section, this Yoink the Spectral Loot deck is a fun way to combine the Yoink and Magnets achievement into one deck. The game plan with this deck is somewhat similar to the Alexstrasza OTK Rogue deck in Standard, except that this one uses Spectral Pillager to bounce for ever increasing amounts of damage. If you were able to use Lorekeeper Polkelt to stick Galakrond at the top of your deck and draw the Spectral Pillager and an Umbral Skulker or two with Galakrond so that they're 0 mana, Spectral Pillager can pump out a boatload of damage each time you bounce her. It'll be even crazier if you've got a Spirit of the Shark sitting out there. Hopefully your opponent isn't repelled enough to concede before you play out your 20th card in a single turn. And that's how magnets work in Hearthstone. Apparently. Have fun with this one. And that's a wrap. If you found this helpful, drop a like. It'll help us coerce the YouTube algorithm into helping others find this video, because the algorithm seems to understand rogue tactics. I should also note that we'll be doing guides for the rest of the Forged in the Barrens gameplay achievements as well, so check back soon or subscribe, because I'm sure you want full preparation before venturing into the Barrens, right? Yeah, we're probably taking the play on rogue card names too far this time. Anyways, if you have any questions or suggestions, let me know in the comments. And if watching content live is your thing, check out our stream at twitch.tv/SSAlchemist. We currently stream on Saturdays and Sundays. And remember, you're awesome. Thank you for watching, and have an awesome day.
Strength and honor. This is who we are.